Boxing King Media out here in, I was going to say Riverside, but we're in Moreno Valley.
Moreno Valley.
Never heard of Moreno Valley. Is it? How do you pronounce it?
Moreno Valley. Look, when I first moved to Riverside County, I never heard of Moreno Valley or Perez or any. There's a lot of towns around here in Riverside County. I never heard of them, but now that we're here, we know everything. And this is where I have my gym. It's a great place for the city, the youth. The mayor told me to come here, and we started here with this amateur program, and it's going great.
So is that the idea behind it, the amateur program, and basically just kind of build a new boxing environment?
Yes, look, where I was at in Riverside, it was just for my professional fighters, and I had everything there. I had my 3 rings, enough room for them to get their workouts, but I wanted to do something for the community, for the kids, for the troubled kids. So I looked around. I met the mayor, and the mayor told me, "Look, I have a great place for you. Let's go to Moreno Valley Mall, and it'll be a good program for the kids." And this is where we're at now.
Amazing. So what have you done with your old gym then? Is that still a gym, or is it just empty now?
No, it's not empty. We put batting cages there. My grandson loves baseball. My grandson, he wants to play for the New York Yankees. He's only 6 years old, but he loves baseball, so he's got some batting cages there.
Amazing, amazing. When I walked into the gym earlier, so when we finish, I'm going to get you to give me a quick tour on the video, but I saw your dad sat there, Eduardo Garcia, and I find it fascinating that at his age, he's managed to survive and build such an amazing legacy, financially secure himself without having to speak English or American, as you guys say. How amazing is that?
That is true. Look, he's going to be 81 next month. Still healthy, still coming to the gym every day to see the sparring. He comes right now with the pros, and then after 4 o'clock, he'll come back to see all the kids, because we have a couple hundred kids that come to the gym every day. So he loves that. He never learned the language. He always worked. He never had any time to go to school, so he always worked in the fields picking strawberries. So never had the chance to study the language. There was a year where before I was born, because I was the first one in the family that was born here in the United States. My dad tells us that there was a year where he got deported 7 times in 1 year. But he never gave up. Always kept coming, and he's proud of what he's done, and I'm very proud of what he accomplished, because not only himself but our whole family, my brothers, my sisters, everybody's doing good. My dad and my mom and my dad, they did a great job.
How did he keep getting back in? Like, was he using different routes or coming back the same way?
He tells us that back in the early 70s, it was very different. It was easy, a lot easier. The borders weren't that strict, so it was pretty much easy to just get back in. So he didn't have to go through like a lot of nowadays. They go through the desert. They spend 2 weeks hiding until they make it to the safe place. It wasn't that hard back then. That's why 7 times in 1 year.
It's a big topic at the moment. I was speaking to Vergil about immigration as well. I know you guys have had it recently with the police trying to send people back. In the UK, it's been a big topic in the last week or so, where people are talking about mainly illegal immigration. But it's good to see that your dad is a success story, because he's produced a 4th-weight world champion, a trainer of the year, Ring Magazine trainer of the year. I'm sure your son's going to carry on the legacy as well. So it's good to see the other side of it.
Exactly. Look, what the media shows, sometimes it's mostly just the negative stuff about immigration and illegal immigration. I also have to understand, I'm a human being also, so there's families that just recently there's a truck driver that was here illegally from India, and he caused an accident where a family of 3 died. So of course, those people are going to think negative about immigration, illegal immigration. But, here in California, especially California, we've seen the way it's going, where they go into the fields to pick up people that are just working hard. They're just working hard to make a living, to send money to their loved ones in Mexico or in Central America, because we have a lot of Central Americans here in California too. So it's sad to see those stories right there going on in the news. But I think sometimes the news, they make it a little bit worse than what it really is, because like I tell you, there is people that could be against it because of what happened with that truck driver from India. He was here illegally, but a lot of Mexicans and Central Americans here in the United States, here in California, they're just hardworking people. They're just making money to make a good living, to raise their families in Mexico. So we could see it both ways. Obviously I'm Mexican. My parents lived it. My dad got deported 7 times in 1 year. I remember growing up in Oxnard, where there's probably 99% Mexicans that live in Oxnard. And I remember my dad coming back home after work without our cousin or without our aunt or uncle, because immigration got them and deported them. It happened. It happened a lot in the 80s. It happened a lot, in the 90s. It's always happened. I think now the media just blows it up a little bit more than what it really is.
I think you hit the nail on the head, but it's also good to kind of remind people about the Native Americans and how they were pushed off their land by people who were technically illegal immigrants themselves coming from Europe. And people forget that. That was only 200 years ago.
Yeah, people forget that, and that's why it's been a very big problem here in California, because this is where we're at. It's difficult to even talk about it, because you're gonna please a lot of people, but you're also gonna get a lot of people mad about it. But I'm Mexican American. I'm the first in my family that was born here in the United States. My 3 older sisters, my 4 sisters, and my older brother, they're all born in Mexico. They lived here in the United States illegally. My mom and my dad lived illegally in the United States for many years, but always worked hard, always had food in our table. We always had a roof, where we all lived in a trailer, in a trailer park, in a small little 1-bedroom trailer. We all lived there. So, that's my experience, personal experience. So I have to be in favor of all that. But like I said, if you see the stories where this truck driver caused an accident where 3 people died, then I also understand their situation. So, I have to be neutral. But I lived it personally. My parents, my sisters, my older brother, living in the United States illegally.
I wanted to highlight that because, like you said, there are a lot of people push the negative story. I wanted to highlight a positive story in your case, which is obviously you guys have brought money, success to the United States. Let's move on to the boxing, the big fight of the weekend. Just a quick question: who did you predict winning the fight and how?
Look, I was in a talk show at 4 o'clock before the fight, before the whole show started. I was in a talk show, and I always throughout the last few months, everybody always asked me. I always say, look, I think Crawford has a chance. He has a chance to win by decision. I think he's got the skills. He's got the combinations to do it. I said it multiple times, but I always said, but I wouldn't put my money on it. I still think Canelo's too big and too strong, where Canelo could hurt him. But the day of the fight, when I did the talk show, they asked me at the end, what's my final prediction? And I said Crawford by decision, because the Thursday before, I talked to BOMAC. We were at the fights underdog. I was there, and BOMAC was there too, and I had a talk with him, and he seemed very confident, very positive when I was talking to him about the fight. So that's why I said, Crawford by decision, and he did what very few thought he could do.
How did you score the fight?
I thought Canelo won maybe 3 rounds, 4 rounds, the most. I think Crawford controlled, dominated, did exactly what he had to do. I think Canelo fought one single way the whole fight, didn't make any changes, and I think that was a big mistake.
Was that because Crawford made him do that, or was that a case of him maybe not being as good as he was?
I think he's good, and he could be better. I think him thinking I'm fighting a smaller guy. He didn't look too good against Madrimov. I think I'm gonna dominate him. I don't think he. Look, I don't want to say I don't think he trained hard, because Canelo is very dedicated. He always trains hard, but I think he probably thought there's no way I could lose to Crawford. So they didn't have a plan B. They didn't have, I think, instructions. The whole fight was the same way. Never made any changes. I think both Canelo and Eddie Reynoso thought there's no way we could lose, so didn't really take it that seriously. It could have. I think that there's a lot of mistakes that they could correct, and they should have corrected.
And Canelo himself has described Terence Crawford as being way better than Floyd Mayweather. Was that victory by Bud better than the victory Mayweather had over Canelo?
Well, I think the win, the Crawford win over Canelo is way bigger because Crawford fought him when he was 23, which he's still young and strong, but yeah, he didn't have that much experience. He was only 23, and I think Crawford beat him when he's undisputed. You know, he's been dominating. Everybody knows Canelo's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. So the win is bigger for Crawford than it is for Mayweather, and I think Crawford probably already did more in boxing than what Mayweather did because they're both 5 division champions, but Crawford's 3-time undisputed, something Mayweather never did. But if you ask me who would have won, I think Mayweather would have beat Crawford. I don't know. I just think Mayweather was too smart in the ring, too defensive and too smart, where he probably would have pulled the decision.
I'm surprised at that one, actually. I thought you would have said Bud. Is there anyone in this era that you think could beat Bud apart from Vergil? I know you're going to say Vergil, but I'm not going to include Vergil in that mix.
Yeah, I don't like to bring up my own fighters. Look, at 168, I think I read a little bit where Turkey's saying that hopefully Benavidez could make 168 again. I don't think that's a good fight for Crawford. Benavidez is too big and too strong. Look, Canelo should have fought Benavidez, and that would have been a good fight, a pretty even fight, because Canelo's already been there for a few years, already had a lot of fights at 168. But Crawford is, even though he beat Canelo, I don't think he's that big or that. I don't think he should fight Benavidez. I think Benavidez is just too big and too strong for Crawford and many other 168 pounders. I even think the guys that fought on the undercard, what was it, Billy? And Lester, well, Lester is his teammate, so I don't think that fight would ever happen. But I think even those guys could be too big and too strong for Crawford. Crawford had just the perfect game plan, fought the perfect fight for Canelo, who also turned pro at 137, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Became champion at 154. So he's also been moving up. Crawford was actually a little bit taller, and Crawford has like 5-inch reach advantage over Canelo. So he took advantage of those moments. But against any of the other solid 168 pounders, I think they're too big for Crawford.
And I'll mention there your fighter Vergil. Vergil gave me a bit of an explanation, but you're going to know more about the business side of it. So could you explain? So Eddie Hearn said that the fight with Vergil Ortiz is signed from there and for Jaron Ennis. And then recently, I think he changed the wording. I think he said it was a deal agreed in principle with Golden Boy. But you guys have backed out or whatever. So can you explain, was it a contract? Was it agreed? What's Eddie saying? What is any truth in that?
I'll tell you one thing. Vergil fights anybody. Vergil wants the big fights. Vergil wants to fight the best in the world. The business side, Golden Boy Promotions, Rick Merrigan, they're good at what they do. So you would have to ask them. But there was already a time where the fight was already a done deal. It was already supposed to happen. But Boots decided he still wanted to fight at 147. So it's not like Vergil doesn't want to fight Boots. Boots announced his next fight would be at 154. So that's when everything went to the negotiations where the fight was already finalized, but then Boots decided he wanted to stay at 147, and he did for one more fight, which I'm not against that either. I like Boots. He's a smart fighter. He's a very talented fighter. So they decided to stay at 147 for one more fight, which they did, and we moved on. Now that Boots already agreed, he probably did. I'm not saying he didn't. Him and Eddie might have already had that. Let's get this fight in November, and then we fight Vergil after him. But I don't know. With us fighting in November also, it's perfect. Both of them can fight sometime next year. But at the end, that's negotiations with Golden Boy, Rick Merrigan, Eddie Hearn himself, and Boots' team. We also heard that Eddie is talking to go to Top Rank about maybe doing a 2-fight deal where Sandro Sayas fights sometime in December and then fights Boots. So that's pretty much another way of saying we'd rather go to Sandro Sayas, who holds the WBO title, instead of Vergil Ortiz. Where they're both fighting in November. So let's just wait for their fight. After their fight, start working on it and make it happen for next year.
I think it's a shame that Virgil's not a world champion, because you look at his fights that he's had, the 2 recent wins as well. I feel like he should be a world champion, but let's see how that unfolds. Want to get your opinion on Ricky Hatton. Sadly, we lost him a couple of days ago. Shocked the boxing world. So I want to ask you, have you ever met him? You might have met him at the Ring Magazine Awards, actually. Any previous experiences you can share about Ricky Hatton and yourself?
I did meet him. I was a great person, very respectful to me. Never met him as to say I hanged out with him or I was his friend right there. I didn't, but just the fact that he was one of the very few fighters that come from England and come and are successful in the United States with so much love and everything. That's big already, because there's a lot of world champions that have tried and haven't been able to do it, and he's one of the few that became a global star. I went to his fight against Pacquiao, and the atmosphere that his fans used to bring in the fights was insane. With all the drums, the screaming, the singing, insane. Over Pacquiao's fans. Pacquiao has people love Pacquiao. Here in the States, Mexicans, Filipinos, everybody loves Pacquiao. But when Ricky fought him, that's one thing I remember. I went as a fan to see the fight, and it was insane. You could think, if you're there, you could think you're in England, because the fans showed up and they loved him. They loved him very much.
They did. A very, very sad loss to the boxing world. Just some quick, short answers. I want to just mention some British fighters that are doing well on the big stage. So I want to know what you think of them, etc. Nick Ball.
He's at a weight division where there's big fights out there for him. I don't know if he's got anything lined up right now. Any big fights lined up? I really don't know. But he's a tough guy. His style is difficult. It's gonna be hard to beat him, because you have to be in great shape, because he's gonna be in shape. Nick Ball is always gonna come in shape, and it's not gonna be easy to beat him. It's tough.
I was watching Chop Chop spar earlier. Him and Chop Chop would be a crazy fight.
Chop Chop is one of my, like I said about Bam, what is it, 10 years ago? I could say that about Chop Chop. Chop Chop is my next big star.
Yeah. Keep an eye for Albert Gonzalez, also known as Chop Chop. Incredible fighter. I watched him spar earlier. Hamza Shiraz.
Man, that kid's the one you got to stay away from. At that weight division, powerful man, strong, learned a lot. He's improved so much in his last few fights. I think his fight with Adames, taught him a lot. He came back and look what he did to Berlanga. I think he's the one to stay away from at that division.
Shock you, that win?
The way it did, yes. Did I think he could win? Yes. But the way he did it definitely shocked me. I think that's a guy to stay away from.
Dalton Smith.
Shit, I don't even know who that is.
He's fighting Subriel Matias next for the.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, you know what? Oh yeah. You're right. We were talking about it with my son and everybody else, and they're actually picking him to beat Subriel Matias. Yeah.
Adam Azim. He beat Lipnitz recently.
Yeah, I wouldn't know who that is, honestly. Sorry.
It's all right. The EUBANK Junior Conor Benn rematching next. It's getting announced on Wednesday. Does the same guy win again or not?
Look, I think they're both winners already, because together, look at what they did. They did a whole stadium. They made a lot of money, but them against other fighters wouldn't be big, wouldn't be as big. They wouldn't perform the way they did. I think they're meant for each other. One of them is a lot bigger than the other one, yes, but meeting at a weight was perfect. I think between them, we could have 3 of those, and that's all they need in boxing. I don't think they're maybe they're not in the level of being able to beat some of the champions or some of the greats in their divisions, but between them, they're doing great things. And it's something that boxing needs, especially UK, for those two big names to fight each other with all the rivalry with the dads and everything. Just puts the whole country, freezes the country to pay attention to that fight, which is huge for boxing for them. It's huge.
Just two more. Anthony Yard.
Man, yes. Strong guy. Man, I gotta go with my boy Benavides, but it's still a big challenge for Benavides and for Yard. Yard is a great fighter, very talented. I just gotta go with Benavides. I can't. He's great, but I think Benavides is gonna put an end to it.
Moses Itauma.
He's the future in boxing. That kid, because he's just a kid, 20 years old. I think unbelievable. Hopefully they don't rush him. Hopefully they don't rush him too fast, because there's a lot of money for him. There's a lot of money right now, but if they take their time, I think that kid could be the future of boxing, not just in the UK, but in the world. That kid's unbelievable.
Last fight, actually, Lewis Crocker, who just won the IBF world title at the weekend. Did you watch it against Paddy Donovan in Ireland?
I did not see that. No. What weight is that?
Welterweight.
I have no idea. Oh, okay. It was a vacant title. Yes. Yes, Boots Obel. Yeah. I'm not very familiar with him. I know about the title, obviously, because there's already talk about who the champions are, and people are saying that right now the welterweight is kind of like in not in the best moment with the champions, but I'm not very familiar with them. No, I didn't even see the fight.
Okay. So this is the last question I've got for you. So my time in the US in the last week, and I saw a lot of questions get asked to Canelo and Bud last week in the press conference. I noticed it's like an American thing. I don't know if you guys see it as fighters and trainers. Why is the American media obsessed with asking you guys how you feel about so many different things? The question always ends up being, how do you feel? They'll ask about different scenarios, but the last word will be, so how do you feel about that? Do you guys pick up on that?
Yeah, it's always the same, but I guess it's just something here. I don't know, something here in the States. It's something American thing. I've traveled to England a lot, and there's a lot of differences. But look, it's just something. I guess it's just something that I never. Now that you brought it up, if you think about it, you're right. But never really, like, you don't sit down to think about it. You know what I mean? So we're just glad we're here, keeping our guys busy. Right now with boxing, the way it's changing with these big promotions, with Turkey involved, and making those fights happen is what boxing needs. We want those big fights. We want the best to fight the best. And him bringing it together to put those fights together, because promoters here or the TV networks here don't put up the money. A lot of fights don't happen. But now with Turkey being able to put the money up, we're getting to see those fights. We would have never seen those type of fights if he wasn't around, because promoters are not doing, because one fighter wants the biggest cut, the other one doesn't want to take less, so the fight doesn't happen. Or 50-50, nope, I'm the champion, so it doesn't happen. Now they're happening because everybody's happy with their pace. So it's glad to be in boxing at this moment right now.
How do you feel about that?
I love it. I have a lot of champions. I have fighters that are involved. Vergil has already been part of it. Bam is going to be part of it in his next fight in November 22nd. Jose Ramirez was already part of it. So we've already been involved. A lot of where the purses are bigger, the fights are happening, and I'm glad. I'm glad that we could bring that to boxing. Like I said, especially right now where I have so much talent, so many fighters that are ready to be part of it.
You missed the joke there, because I said, how do you feel about that? I asked you the feel question. I was just talking about American media and always asking about how you feel.
How do you feel?
And I asked you that then. I said, how do you feel about that? But you missed it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to give you the mic. Do you mind just giving me a quick tour in the gym?
Oh, definitely. Let's go.
And it's crazy to see myself in a game, you know, coming up as a kid playing the fighting games and boxing games and football, just any sports game, just to see yourself, you know, to be able to play yourself. It's crazy to me. Still to this day, you know, sometimes I can't even believe that I'm actually in the game, but, you know, dreams do come true, reality sets in, and, you know, we're here.
Respect isn't given, it's earned.